Welcome to the session on audit planning and design, focusing specifically on the identification of artificial intelligence assets. In this session, we will cover the unique complexities of artificial intelligence systems compared to traditional software, the exact methods used to find them, and how to build a comprehensive, non-punitive inventory. Understanding how to properly catalog these tools provides massive real-world utility. By mastering these techniques, you will be able to pinpoint unmonitored technologies that could be leaking sensitive corporate data, allowing you to secure your organization's operations without halting business productivity. You will also use this exact framework to ensure your company avoids severe financial penalties during regulatory compliance checks. The first major concept is understanding that artificial intelligence solutions are fundamentally different from traditional information technology assets. A standard software program is like a simple hammer. It is one tool that does one job, and it is easy to track. Artificial intelligence is not like a simple spreadsheet application. Instead, an artificial intelligence solution is like a massive, automated manufacturing plant. It is composed of many interconnected systems. Because of this, one single solution might have several different owners across the company, rely on multiple underlying computational models, and exist in many different software versions simultaneously. These solutions have vast requirements. For example, they require detailed workflow mappings, which are visual guides that show exactly how data travels through the system from start to finish. They also contain multiple datasets. You have training datasets, which act like textbooks used to teach the system, and separate production datasets, which are the live streams of data the system works on every day. Furthermore, these systems use multiple mathematical algorithms to make their decisions. When we look at the system development lifecycle, or the process of building the software, we see even more complexity. These solutions frequently incorporate external third-party tools. Instead of building from scratch, developers often pull in open-source frameworks, cloud-based machine learning platforms, and pre-packaged algorithms from major cloud vendors. Because all these different puzzle pieces are stitched together, the final product often requires multiple different legal licenses. Finally, a single solution must comply with a wide variety of legal and regulatory frameworks depending on what data it touches. Identifying these internal and external assets is absolutely critical. Organizations rely heavily on artificial intelligence to make decisions, run operations, improve efficiency, and drive innovation. Finding what tools are actively running requires a structured, team-based approach that combines the risk management, operations, and audit teams. However, there is a very important rule here. Internal audit should never lead or manage this discovery effort. The department responsible for data management or artificial intelligence operations should lead. As an auditor, your job is to independently review their work. If you want to find a good starting point for your inventory, look at the organization's official usage policy. Drafting that policy usually forces the company to identify the tools they already have. If a baseline inventory exists, it must be updated at least once every year. If it is out of date, the inventory owner needs to start an immediate update. For companies that build their own custom products, they must maintain a highly specific model catalog, which is a detailed library of every custom algorithm they have created. Now let us discuss the specific objectives and procedures of building this inventory. Ideally, this list should be modeled after existing software tracking processes. The primary purpose of this effort is strictly to identify what is running. It is absolutely not meant to penalize employees who are using unapproved tools. Think of it like a community safety check. If city inspectors penalize people for reporting broken water pipes, people will simply hide the leaks. To succeed, leadership must broadcast a clear, organization-wide communication. This message must state the exact purpose of the inventory, mandate the disclosure of all tools, and explain how this effort will improve security and collaboration. Management must guarantee that no one will be reprimanded for being honest. Let us dive into the actual data gathering methods. To find solutions that the company built in-house, the internal audit team should review formal project documentation. This includes change requests, deployment logs, release notes, and general program management documents. To find external systems running on the network, the security and technology teams can use specific discovery tools. First, they can review data flow diagrams. A data flow diagram is simply a map showing how information travels from one system to another, like a map of city subway lines. Second, they can examine metadata. Metadata is simply data about data, like a digital shipping label that tells you the origin and destination of a file. Third, they can review the Active Directory or user access management systems. This means looking at the central control panel that manages employee passwords to see which external applications are requesting login permissions. When building this list, you cannot just collect random notes. The organization must establish a standardized list of data fields to guarantee consistent, high-quality data. You must collect exactly 10 specific details for every tool. You need the name of the solution, you need the exact version number, you need to note any required licenses. You must document the financial cost. You need the deployment method, which specifies if it is a website, an installed application, or an application programming interface. An application programming interface is essentially a digital bridge that allows two distinct software programs to talk to each other secretly in the background. You must also record the tool's business purpose. You need to track the frequency of use. You must list the relevant stakeholders. You must identify the accountable organization owner. Finally, you must capture all details related to the third-party vendor. Beyond scanning networks, you must ask the workforce directly through surveys and interviews. Surveys are incredibly efficient. Offering some level of anonymity is crucial because it encourages people to tell the truth rather than giving the answer they think the boss wants to hear. However, be careful. If a survey is completely anonymous, people might ignore it entirely because there is zero accountability. Make sure your survey uses quantifiable questions that produce structured data, like multiple choice options, rather than open text boxes. When you conduct live interviews, the questions must be strictly standardized with predetermined response options. Open-ended questions will give you messy, unusable data. For example, if you ask what writing assistant someone uses, and they say they use a generic text generator, you must follow up. You need to know if they are using Text Generator Pro from Company A or Deep Writer from Company B. Getting precise names allows you to group similar responses accurately. Interviews are particularly useful when talking to development teams who might be quietly experimenting with new tools for their own education rather than building official products. Finally, we must consider documentation and the dynamic nature of this technology. All of these collected artifacts must be integrated into standard enterprise tracking platforms. However, managing this inventory is uniquely difficult because of a phenomenon known as shadow artificial intelligence. Shadow technology occurs when a department purchases and uses software without ever involving the central technology team. For instance, imagine the marketing team buying a cloud-based video editing tool that uses complex algorithms to analyze customer faces, and they pay for it with a corporate credit card. The IT department has no idea it exists. Because these tools are so accessible, ownership becomes highly decentralized, making your role in auditing this process absolutely vital. To summarize our deep dive, artificial intelligence solutions are highly complex, multi-layered systems requiring distinct datasets, models, and legal considerations. The process of finding these tools must be led by management, not internal audit, and the culture must remain non-punitive to encourage honest reporting. Finally, you must use a combination of technical network diagrams, structured surveys, and standardized interviews to collect the 10 mandatory data fields for every single tool, helping to combat the pervasive risk of shadow technology. All the important topics and concepts from this session are covered in the multiple choice questions on RooCloud.com. You should ideally solve the chapter-wise questions there to reinforce your learning before moving on to the next session. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next episode.